for it, Joel.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. Well, here we are again. Thanks for listening to this ShrimpsNet, the Shrimps Trust podcast. Glad we got lots of people telling us you missed us last week. All things Morecambe FC we chat about, but today we've got some unusual guests, as provided by Charlie from the Boardroom. The evergreen Charlie's with us. Welcome along, Charlie.
Hello there.
Also, as usual, we've got Joel from the Trust with his bag of stats. Joel, welcome.
Evening, Freez.
And then we've got two very special guests from the D3, D4 podcast. We've got David Jenkin, who's a Gills fan, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see he's got the shirt on. Welcome along, David.
Hey, pal.
And also, we've got a compatriot of Charlie, who's a mad AFC Wimbledon fan, and he's joining us tonight. We're going to chat, obviously, about the sort of the bottom six and what's going to happen from now to the end of the season. Welcome along, Alex.
Pleased to be here.
Oh, nice mug, like it.
I've got the shirt, he's got the mug.
Yeah, good lad. I knew there'd be something Wimbledon. And well, as people will see when Joel pans back a bit, he's got a Morecambe shirt on and Charlie's got the background. So there's only me letting the side down, but that's the old ground behind me. So there you go. Right, start as we normally go on. We've got three fixtures that have taken place since the last podcast. Bolton Wanderers, I'll talk about the football rather than anything else. A fantastic performance that day. We managed to snatch a 1-1 draw from the jaws of a win, which was a strange situation. Again, horrible. The weather recently has been absolutely horrible. It was a terrible day. That was repeated at Lincoln. That was repeated in the Gillingham game at home. We seem to be nothing but pouring down rain, horrible wind. We've taken 2 points from 9 in those three fixtures, Joel, and that's not what we wanted.
No, I think the frustrating thing is we probably deserved. I think I was listening to Stephen Robinson's interview today, and I think the interviewer said we deserved probably 5 more from those. I think he's absolutely right. I think against Bolton we were the better team. We probably edged the first half, I'd say, and then second half we battered them pretty much, and it was frustrating not to be able to see it out, and obviously in difficult conditions, and you know the goal comes about partly because of those difficult conditions. Obviously, Jacob Bedeau slips, and it's just unfortunate it can't be out sometimes. But yeah, frustrating not to be able to see out the win on that. Against Lincoln, those first 20 minutes didn't go so well. I think you got to say fair play to Michael Appleton and Lincoln. I thought they kind of manoeuvred past our kind of press quite well, and they got down the flanks and really got us that way, and then that put us under a lot of pressure. And then that's probably where the 2 goals come from. And at that point, I think we deserved a draw from that, to tell you the truth. You know, with our second half performance, we've missed a couple of pretty good chances, really. You know, the younger one, and then the big.
You know what I'm laughing at now? Cole clearing our own striker's header off the line. It's just like, Cole, you're supposed to put that in, not stop it, mate. You know,
Exactly. So we've had a couple of unlucky ones in the second half, and you know maybe if Jonas goes in, there's probably even maybe a bit more time to get a winner. But you know we can't really say for certain. So I think on the balance of play in that one, yeah, we were probably worth a point. That formation change in the second half, 3-5-2, that worked really nicely because it kind of negated for what Lincoln were kind of exploiting us with. And then against Gillingham, obviously we'll hear from David later in the podcast. I thought Gilliam's game plan worked pretty well in the first half. It was low possession, and they had a few periods of, you know, having the ball, having a bit of territory in our half, creating some kind of little half chances, a few little dangerous moments. On the flip side, we looked really threatening from set pieces, which is quite a nice positive because it's been a bit of an issue this season, set pieces. But for us to look threatening against quite a big side, I thought was encouraging. But what Gilliam did really well, I thought Gilliam maybe withdrew a bit too much in the second half for what I imagine was Neil Harris's liking. I don't think he probably would have wanted them to be that withdrawn. At the same time, they defended the box well. Like we had a lot of territory. We got in some good areas, and every time the ball was going in the box or kind of going in that area, there was just bodies in the way, and that made it really difficult. Obviously, the goal, what a goal from Gilliam, but then some great work from John Obika. to get us back in the game. And in the end, you know, after those two chances late on, it's gutting not to win, but we've got to take the positives from the performances and just keep those up, because, I mean, what more can you do, really? Just keep playing as well as you can, because we played really, really well. And maybe if our luck turns a bit, I think we might get a few results to go with those performances. But yeah, all we can do is just keep playing well.
I'll come to David now, because obviously Gillingham's game plan was not dissimilar to Derek Adams' game plan when we got promoted last year, of like, you can have the ball and we will just defend and stop you. And we were capable of doing that last year. And your lads did that very well and had more than a couple of half chances in the first half. But the game seemed to change when you scored, didn't it?
Yeah, you know, I think it was a strange game overall, to be honest with you. But from our perspective, I think, you know, Neil Harris has had very limited time to work with the team so far. What he has put together is he's put together a brand new formation. But I think there's still a lot of frailties that have been left over from Steve Evans' time. You know, you could definitely see how, you know, you've still got a lot of players that are hoofing that ball up, like Jack Tucker, that will just hit those balls up, which it doesn't necessarily, for me, isn't necessarily compatible with the style that Harris is going with. But I think he's trying to get the blend between how they've been playing for the last 2 seasons and how he wants us to play as a team. And I think the Morecambe game was probably the perfect example for me of how those two styles very much clash, and how, you know, he can instill as much as he like, but there's still that Evans. You can still see the Evans football in that game.
Yeah, and it's strange because obviously you had two decent lads up top, and obviously Verdane, an old boy of ours, who's particularly good in the air, and it was a sort of strange thing to watch, because they were half the time they were using him, but then not supporting him. And if you're going to use him, then that's what you've got to do. You've got to get men. You've got to get men around him, because he will win it or knock it on or bring it down. And he was getting increasingly frustrated, wasn't he?
Oh, I absolutely agree. But then I think that's been a running commentary under Evans and under Harris. I think that just continues to happen. You know, as it is, we're trying to rely on having an experienced player to bring the ball down or to win those headers. But then we're relying on 2 19-year-old loanees from the Premier League to be able to collect that and do something with it. It's just not. It just doesn't work like that, you know. As much as a nuisance as John Akinde was on our wage bill, you know, he may have been able to do something from it. Granted, he clearly didn't want to be here anymore, so it was the right decision for him to go. But for us as a team to be relying on 2 19-year-olds, you know, obviously we've got Ben Thompson, who seems to be pushing progressively further up because he's having no choice but to do that. So I think that's also another factor for us, is not having the personnel at the moment and not having the people up the top to be able to make the difference. You know, you can't rely on youth players from Premier League under 23 teams to be able to make the difference in League One, especially in a relegation dogfight.
I think that's the point, isn't it? In the fact that we were disappointed. I mean, you know, scoring as late as you did, and as I've alluded to before, the game changed. It became very, very. You sat back a little, but then tried to catch us on the breaks. There was 2 or 3 minutes of madness where it was really, really stretched, and it was literally end to end. And that was still at 1-0 to Gillingham. And so credit to you, because obviously you decided, all right, okay, we will sit back. But then we gave the ball away, and you frightened us stiff a couple of times. But then we managed to get an equaliser. But with the situation that we're in, and Wimbledon are in, and you're in, a point, or our 2 points out of 9, and a point away from home is a good point. But from our point of view, it felt like a game we should have won, and you're probably thinking the same thing.
I think so, but I think anybody in this situation, like any of us fans at this point where we are, you know, for us right now, every single point is absolutely vital, like from where we've come from. When you look at before Harris was appointed, you know, to be able to win 2 games at home, which we hadn't won in 17 before Harris had come, like that just gives you an illustration. You know, 17 games without a win, he comes in 2 home wins and a loss away from home and a draw away from home. We're going to take that all day long. That for us is a massive game. Obviously, we thought we could probably hold on, but I think notoriously we've been across the last couple of seasons, we just sit back too much. When we've got a lead, we just invite that pressure on, and I think we don't necessarily have the personnel or the experience within the squad at times for us to be able to just, you know, push ourselves out a bit more and avoid that happening. But fair play to you guys for getting that equaliser and probably at the very least, either team deserved was a point.
Yeah, I agree. And like I say, frustrating for both teams. But particularly, like you say, Harris is obviously making a difference. But obviously, unless from his point of view, he came in just that little bit too late because he's hamstrung by he's got to play with what he's got, hasn't he?
Well, I think it's down to the fact that even if you wanted to bring in personnel, we're still in the embargo from the EFL loan.
Yeah.
So, the hope was for a lot of fans, I know myself included, was that if Kyle Dempsey was going to go, which obviously he has gone to Bolton now, that we were going to use that money to pay off the embargo so that, there's a possibility for free transfers. But even then, what free transfers are you going to have at this time of year that are going to be available that you're going to want to be interested in and they're going to make a difference? Like any that are worth picking up would probably have been gone by now, unless you're a Burton and somehow pick up ex-Premier League players. But,
Yeah. Yeah, that was a strange one, I've got to say. I didn't see that one coming. Anyway, so Charlie, 2 points from 9. We were expecting a lot more, but I'm going to come on now to the situation with obviously all our teams that we're here to talk about, Wimbledon, Gillingham, and obviously mentioned in dispatches Doncaster and a Crewe and everybody else around us. My stat, which is we've got 10 of the top 12 to play from now till the end of the season. So looking at it positively, we've got a chance to change the outcome of their seasons as well as our own, haven't we?
Well, Morecambe alike, right? We if you look at our form against the lower teams, we've lost to AFC and drawn and lost to Gillingham, lost and won against Crewe and Doncaster. Shrewsbury were playing on Saturday, obviously beat them, and what else is that? It was around Fleetwood. Drew and won, actually, not so bad. But we do well against the better teams usually, don't we? So that's what we're like. We don't make life easy for ourselves. I did. It was on Saturday. It was quite a strange atmosphere because obviously, my company was sponsoring the match. And we had you boys in the prawn sandwich, pie, chips and gravy stand, and I came back into the. I watched the second half in the director's box, and I came back into the box 8 where you guys were. The atmosphere was very, very flat, and as if we'd been relegated.
Yeah.
My business partner was there, who's a Harrogate Town fan. He was just there because we were sponsoring the match, and he said, "No, guys, honestly, you don't know how valuable that point might be at the end of the season."
Yeah, it is. It's a fair point.
We did lose. The gap would have been cut. We could have won the game quite easily, but it was quite comical, really. We're usually inviting teams onto us and trying to press them and get the ball on the counter-attack. Gillingham just sat back in a 9-0-1 formation, and, inviting us on. And it's almost we didn't know what to do. It was pissing it down with rain, really windy, and everyone was like, everyone around was like, quicker. We're not tiki-taka Barcelona all of a sudden. It was we did really, really well. We tried really, really hard. You can't fault the effort of the players at all. People like McLaughlin, who Alex might want to comment on later, we got from AFC Wimbledon, Shane McLaughlin, absolutely brilliant. We voted Jacob Beddoe man of the match. There could be any number of them, but we tried so hard. It's going to come off one day, and it just everyone else is losing as well. So 10 of the top 12, bring it on.
And I have to say, bringing Alex and both David in now, you'd really be in the crap if it wasn't for us giving you points, wouldn't you, Alex?
I'm not sure about that, really. Listen, we're still quite excited about the season, about what's going on about Wimbledon. We've got a new ground. We've got a great manager who's got a different outlook. Young players coming that have all come through the system. As Wimbledon fans, we're in a great place at the moment. Are we relying on others? I think we've had a terrible run. We had a really bad episode with COVID where we missed 18 days in a row, where you're just thinking, right, you're going to play on Tuesday, but actually then it's off, and then it's not like you've got an 18-day pre-season to go at. We had an 18-day block where we thought we were playing and then we weren't playing, and so you can't properly prepare. So almost you start again. So then the first game back after that enforced break, you're almost in pre-season mode. Up until that point, just before Christmas, we had a brilliant result up at Accrington, looked really good, really controlled the game. I think 97th minute, Wickham equalised against us for 2-2. Those two games would have been back-to-back away wins against a mid-table and a really top side Wickham. So, I listening to you playing all the top sides, we've got to play 9 of the bottom half. We've got Gills next week. Worst away end in the country as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sure others will testify to that. So
I mean, I go there every week, and I'm not going to deny you that either. So I don't have to sit in it.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't have to sit there, so it's all right.
Yeah, exactly. But we've always done quite well there, and I've even getting absolutely soaked through and freezing cold, but it's we've always done all right there. So hopeful to pick up something there. We've got Doncaster, we've got all the teams around us, just above us. There are other teams that aren't doing as well that are being drawn back into it. Your Shrewsburys, your Fleetwoods, those sorts of sides. So I don't know. I'm quietly confident with a young side, and if we go down, we go down. Honestly, there's a bigger thing going on at Wimbledon. We've just got to get the ground making money for ourselves, and then we can really go again. We haven't got any chairman issues or anything like that. We're fan owned. We're in a brand new stadium back in Wimbledon. That's been our dream. Our biggest problem is what's our next goal. We've achieved everything we could possibly have wanted to. From the moment the FA screwed us and said that franchising is allowed in football, to now, we've achieved absolutely everything we could possibly hope for. So where do you go from there?
To mention, Freeze, that Morecambe and Wimbledon have got quite similar outlooks. I texted Jacob Beddoe on Saturday night after he won man of the match and said, well done. So I had to leave early because of the train problems. But he said, I said, are you enjoying being in the club? And he was like, I'm absolutely buzzing. The club's going places, we're on the up. You can see everyone with ambition. Yeah. Things are changing for the better. Really, really happy. Obviously, he's going to say that to me anyway. But you can tell he's being genuine, and everyone's. We're going in the right direction. Hopefully we'll survive. But we're on the up anyway, regardless of where we are.
So, looking at the situation that we're in here, gents, and there is always you get to this time of year, and when we're approaching March. There's always one team in just about every division who gets sucked into where they didn't think they were going to be at Christmas. Now, personally, I do think it might well be Shrewsbury because was it Shrewsbury? Is it Shrewsbury? Yeah. But I do think it's going to be Shrewsbury because I just think they've had some really, really poor form. And then they picked up, and then they've gone really poor again. And I don't think they've made particularly good signings in the window.
I saw a podcast earlier this week with a Shrewsbury fan on, and he was really, really, really depressed.
That podcast I did with Gabriel Sutton. I was on the shoot with the Shrewsbury fan called Martin, and to be honest, he made me feel very confident about survival. To tell you the truth, he was not confident about staying up, but. I think like you've alluded to there, Freeze, the form hasn't been great for a while. Boy, they were coming up to Christmas. I think they were looking in a decent position. But they're just. I don't think things have worked out the way they wanted to over January. I think they lost one of the better wingers as well. So, they're in a bit of a slide at the moment. Obviously, we'll be able to say a little bit more about them after Saturday, but. For the time being, it looks like they're probably going to be the ones that might be slipping down the table a bit.
So the pessimist in me says that we could possibly turn up on Saturday and help halt their slide,
turn their season around.
Yeah, exactly, because we've done that before now, as I've alluded to already, with like 4-3 Wimbledon at our place and 2-1 at Gillingham. So we've been quite kind. We've given you enough points. It's if you stay up, then a telegram or a thank you card, which would be appreciated. But so I think it's going to be Shrewsbury dragged into it. Do you see it any different, Alex?
Yeah, I mean they were. I think we should have beaten them when they came to our place recently. I didn't think they were great, and they've got quite a high wage bill, I think, as well, haven't they? They've got some decent proper players in there that are being paid some decent amount of money. So yeah, who knows? Fleetwood, they're in and around there as well, aren't they? Cheltenham had a poor run before Christmas and could easily go on another. Any of these teams could go on another kind of poor run, couldn't they?
There is always that capability. I sort of had a feeling it might. About a month ago, I was thinking it might be Cambridge, but since they've had that Newcastle win, it seems to have sort of buoyed them a bit. So that's why I've changed to Shrewsbury, because I'm just like, well, I think they look like a bit sort of lost at the moment. What do you think, David?
I'm really not sure, if I'm honest. I think it's going to be a very, very tight race at that bottom spaces for anyone to get safe. As good as the run that Gillingham have been on, I think for us it's going to be vital. The most vital factor is going to be our home form. So if we can maintain, so far since Harris has taken over, we've won both games at home. I don't think that's going to be the case as we go through, but we've got some very winnable games coming up. I'd hope, Plymouth potentially. I'd like to think Wimbledon, but they've been our bogey team in the last few years, where we just don't seem to be able to get anything over them. There's some interesting games that are coming up, but the pessimist in me thinks that the bottom four is going to stay the same, but the optimist in me thinks that the Neil Harris effect might come into play. But I think whoever stays up is going to be very lucky, because I think it's going to be the best of a bad bunch, if I'm honest. I don't think any of those teams around there have necessarily proven that they're of League One quality, but we all knew that League One this season was going to be incredibly, incredibly tough. I just think this just shows how tough it is. I guess the only thing for me is that there's some hope that, we can go on a 17-game unbeaten run and still somehow be able to be close to safety. I don't know if you can even say that, but I don't even know whether we'll make up the points. It's all really going to come down to, I think the next few games are going to be very telling to if we even have a chance of getting out of this relegation zone. You guys certainly have much more of a chance, but I just don't see who else falls in. Wimbledon maybe, but with the way they've been playing against certain teams, I just don't see it.
We were really good against Sunderland at the weekend. I mean, Sunderland, I think, have been poor. But I was really disappointed with a point against Sunderland. And had it not been for I think 8 different outfield players got booked. We're a team that really works well in transition. On the break, we're really quick, we're young, we're fast. We get away, and just cynical foul after cynical foul, and the card count showed. And had it not been for certain decisions, we should have had a second pen, all of that sort of stuff. I think we could have beaten Sunderland, and that for me gives me a lot of hope. We've got players out this weekend, and interesting to hear your point around needing experience in the middle. And our average age is low 20s usually on a match day. We've got one decent player, Alex Woodyard, experienced pro. He's been at Peterborough and other clubs. He's out injured at the moment. When he comes back in, that's what we all need to then bolster up that midfield, because unless you're running the midfield, I think it's difficult to pick up those points in those really tight games. Those real kind of 6-pointers that we've all got coming up.
Yeah, and I think it's a fair point that you make there, David, in the fact that obviously it's our first season in League One, and we've been absolutely gobsmacked by the standard, because we thought, obviously, from our background, coming up from the conference in sort of 2007, or the National League as it is now, and then staying in League Two for all that time, you kind of get used to the standard. And the League Two is kind of sort of like 3 divisions. There's always a top 6 who are half decent, and then there's some middling teams who've got half a dozen decent players, and then there's about 6 or 7 near the bottom who are pretty shabby. And it's kind of the same in League One, but the standard of some of the teams that we've played is just absolutely outstanding. And it's because, obviously, the big teams with big budgets, and they can pay decent wages to some decent players. And for us to still be alive and kicking and playing as well as we are, I'm like you in the fact that I think, I do think we can probably get out of it. And I'm sure Wimbledon think that, and I think you think that. But the only disappointment to us is the fact that we have played pretty badly against the teams that are supposedly our rivals down the bottom. But we have played better against the better teams, haven't we, Joel?
Yeah, I'd say we've actually played really quite well against Gillingham. We're a bit unlucky overall, especially looking at some of the numbers under the game. But yeah, I think in the kind of previous run of games, obviously, you've got the performance against Wimbledon, which was a decent first half, kind of tailed away in the second. Though we didn't. I think we're a bit unlucky in that game. We could have done with having somebody like Adam Phillips off the bench, but he was injured, unfortunately. I just won the game, and obviously, I think going back before that. You've got the game against Crewe, which let's not talk about because that wasn't very good.
Oh,
it happens, but yeah, we have had contrasting performances. I'd probably say actually what the biggest contrasting performances at the moment is probably at home and away. I think we're absolutely all of our home games at Doncaster. We bossed it, absolutely bossed it. Apart from I think Wigan was probably a bit more even, but for a long period of that game.
Good game.
For long periods of that game, we bossed it.
Yeah.
I thought, and then maybe some of the away games we probably haven't played as well. Maybe that's part of, obviously, Stephen Robinson's spoken about moving to the stadium. I don't know how much training they might be doing on the pitch, but I know they're getting changed there, and there's a bit more of a kind of a feel around the place. So maybe that's having an effect, but we've been really good. We've squeezed teams really well at home and kind of put them under pressure, not really let them get out a lot of the time. Whereas away from home, maybe we haven't quite done that much. Maybe pitch sizes, different dynamic of a different stadium, dynamic of the team, the opposition we're playing. Maybe they feel that they need to withdraw when they're playing at our place, and we could pile onto that. Who knows? But yeah, I think that's probably the main thing that stood out for me recently. But like you say, we have turned out some good performances against top teams. Wickham. We thoroughly deserve that win against Wickham. Some good parts here at Sheffield Wednesday, and then obviously we go to Rotherham next Tuesday, which I'm sure we'll get on to. But I'm not looking forward to that because they are comfortably, the best side. They are just
them and Wigan for me are the best two sides we've played. So.
Yeah, Wigan were very good. We caught Sunderland on a good day. It sounds like their good days and bad days. Sunderland's are miles apart.
Exactly, their away form's atrocious.
Yes,
for somebody to be in that position, it's the home form that's got them there.
Yeah, Sunderland when they're on it, they're about as good as Doncaster, I think. But no, not Doncaster, Rotherham. When they're not on it, they're about as good as Doncaster, though.
Yeah, true. I wouldn't argue with that.
Rotherham are the best team I've seen in this league. Absolutely outstanding. They're a championship team playing in League One. They absolutely battered us up there, and we put everyone behind the ball and really tried to kind of hold out against them at home. And eventually, they did it against Sheffield Wednesday. I don't know if you saw that on Sunday. I think it was exactly the same. Just wear them down, and hit them. And they've just got too much quality for this league.
I agree with you completely. They beat us 1-0 with a fantastic goal. But it was a great game, a really great game. But God, they moved it quickly, and they were biting in the tackle. And then it was almost telepathic against us. They were passing it to a man who wasn't there, who suddenly appeared, and it was like, dear God, these are good. So,
men against boys. We turn around and said men against boys at half time.
Yeah. And I agree with you completely. I think they're the best two sides we've seen.
Yeah.
I'm going to come to you, Alex, now. Something I wanted to talk about. Obviously, being in your position, survival. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It'd be great to survive, but it's not necessarily. You've met all your goals. The financial clout of non-league teams coming in and paying $300,000 for your main striker. That's if you're going to survive, did you need him, or did you think we'll never get $300,000 for him? We might as well take it.
There's and this is all anecdotal, so don't quote me on any of this. But he had a 6 months to go on his contract with a year extension, which we could bring in. he's coming to the end of his career. Yeah, he has been good with us, and I'd like to think that he came to us. We didn't cost us anything when he came to us. And Mark Robinson is really good at developing players, and I think he changed as a player. He's injury prone. He's 30. He's coming to the end of his career. He was offered a 3.5-year contract, from what I've been told, and double what he was on with us to go and live in North Wales. So, you know, he's got a young family. He's a great lad. He's local to Wimbledon. He lives just down the road. He gets involved in the community stuff. For him, we couldn't say no to him in terms of it. It was such a good opportunity for him to go. You know, to go from, I don't know, we were probably paying him $2,000 a week, and he was getting 4 up at Wrexham. Yeah. And then to get money for him as well when it didn't cost us anything 18 months ago.
Yeah.
At a time where we've still got some bridging finance to pay down on the ground and all of that side of things. I think it was really good business, and I think it was the right thing for both parties. Yeah, I'm gutted because he was the only one scoring goals.
Yeah, exactly.
And we brought in Sam Cosgrove, who's Birmingham paid £2 million for him 18 months ago from Aberdeen. He scored loads of goals for Aberdeen, but did nothing at Shrewsbury for the first half of this season. But I just think his confidence is low. And again, he's the sort of player Robbo will really get the best out of him. And, you know, he's similar size to Ollie Palmer, similar sort of attributes, can probably slip in once he gets up and running and fit to exactly how Ollie, and chip in with some goals. So I'm not too disappointed, but yeah, crazy money. I mean, what's going on up there? I mean, I know it's the film star, the film star team and all this, but you know, they're paying ridiculous money, both in terms of paying out for players and the wages as well. Just crazy.
You're right. And David, we've got exactly the same situation. While we're on it, we've got the same. Stockport County are doing exactly the same. They took a lad from Fleetwood that we've admired. From that point of view, I was like, oh, Paddy at Fleetwood, he's good. And then all of a sudden, he's going to Stockport, and exactly the same story. Doubled his money, set up for life, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm sort of glad we're not in the National League anymore, because I think we'd be probably bottom 10 in there.
It's just baffling, isn't it? That I put out a tweet a few weeks or so ago, but you'd always expect the bigger teams to go down to those lower leagues. And, you know, Wimbledon have been fantastic at this, going down into the lower leagues and picking out talent from there. But I can't think of any other team in the history of the EFL, to me, that has ever been able to do that. Has been in non-league, hasn't been involved in the EFL, and has just poached captains and big players, like not even just players that are on the fringe, like big players for these teams. Like it's insane to me. I mean, I hope for Wrexham's sake it pays off, because financially this is not a long-term solution. Like, unless they've got millions and millions ready to go, the trouble I have with it is the fact that in the National League, the finance regulations and guidelines are completely different from when you're in there to when you reach the EFL. So even if they do get promotion this season, how are they going to manage that? How are they going to bring down those wages to get the wage bill under control so that it meets EFL regulations? How are they going to get the players that are going to do them at this level? Or are they preparing to just successive promotions? Like, whatever their strategy is, it needs to pay off this season. Otherwise, I think they're going to land themselves in a very difficult position. I imagine the reason why they've given such high wages is because they're expecting that automatic promotion this year and to push themselves up. And if they don't, I think they're going to land themselves in some deep water.
I'd much rather sustainable clubs like the Bromleys and the Suttons actually come up and you know, and Sutton have shown how you do it. Bromley are a great example of a club that, you know, is living within its means and doing very well out of it as well. They've got a great setup down there, and I'd much rather a team like that came up than a bit of Hollywood A-lister cash.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you. And like, obviously, Stockport being a sort of like an old established club. When we got into the Football League in 2007, I remember, you know, one of the away game at Christmas, and we took about 500 there, and there was a really big crowd, and they were going for promotion. And I was thinking, oh, this is, you know, these lot are Billy big time. And then you look at where they've gone since, and you think, well, they've always had that financial clout because obviously they get the crowds. And I kind of don't mind that, And Wrexham obviously do get the crowds. They're fairly decent for that standard. But then when somebody comes in and goes, right, here's a massive wad of cash, it's like the non-league dream, isn't it? Because it's just like you're living way beyond the means. And as you've said, they're not going to get away with that. If they do come up in League Two, it'll be far more stringent. So they've got to be a little bit cleverer, a little bit. I think it's all well and good if they get up, but surely they're not naive enough to think they're going to get away with that in the league. I hope not, anyway.
All I can say on that point is SCMP is really difficult for us, and it's probably difficult for Wimbledon and Gillingham. And we've got much smaller wage bills than they have if they come up, so it'll be very difficult for them to balance the books on the SCMP side. And
I take your point that teams like Bromley and Sutton and also Harrogate Town. Harrogate came into the league and they've kept a nucleus of the same squad and used clever loan signings and picked people out from lower leagues around sort of like the northeast and the northwest. And Harrogate are now safely established. And I always look out for their results and think, oh my God, excuse me. They have some strange results to Harrogate, but they've established themselves in the Football League and they've done it the right way. It isn't just done with, oodles of cash.
Yeah, I kept quite a bit of a close eye on Harrogate because I used to live not far from Harrogate. I used to live in North Leeds. So keeping an eye, I remember when they were going to go for that promotion, I remember they signed John Stead and I just kind of assumed that, that's big money signing. But actually, looking at their squad, that was kind of like a little bit of the icing on top, that John Stead signing. A lot of their squad, were barely have Wikipedia pages, which isn't how you should judge a player. But yeah, they come. A lot of them have come from absolutely nowhere in non-league, and it's good. It's great when you see those clubs building up and able to break into the Football League, and when they do it well, we've not had clubs go down from League Two back to the National League straight away. That's not happened in ages.
No.
So I think, fortunately, a lot of clubs are doing it right. Some of them, a little bit naughty on the financial side, but we'll have to see how it pans out over the next few years.
I'm just, I still buy a lottery ticket every Friday for the Euro Millions. So, it might be I won £4.50 2 weeks ago. But I bought another lottery ticket and a 4 pint of milk. So, the big times are coming. That's all I'm going to say. But, that's why everybody buys the lottery, because you think, I'd have a triple-decker cantilever stand on that side with my name on it and all that sort of thing. But when it turns up as £4.50, I was like, oh, well, that dream's gone for this week. But you can't win them all. Right, Charlie, I want to chat a bit. Obviously, we were very fortunate, myself and Joel, because of our sterling work from Joel and my idiocy on this podcast. You very kindly put us in with the prawn sandwiches against Gillingham on Saturday. And I sent you a text about 1:45 saying, we're helping ourselves to the bar because there's nobody here to stop us. Because you weren't there. Tell us what happened.
Yes, it was a very, very unique experience, David. So what happened was, we got to Warrington Bank Quay, which is, for those who don't know, it's about an hour on the train, 45 minutes on the train, or an hour and a quarter in a car from the Mazuma. And we were supposed to get into Lancaster at 12 o'clock. We got to Warrington, we were waiting for ages, there's a signal problem. Then they said we were going to pull out to the platform and pull back in on a different platform. We were like, oh, hello, something's going wrong here. So I rang the local taxi company and said, can you tell me, hello, can you tell me how much taxi is to Mazuma? Like £250, please. I was like, great. Now, I would have, for the love of the shrimps, I would have spent that much money for the record. But I didn't want to. I put a tweet out to the Brotherhood of Shrimps fans. Put a tweet out saying, "Is anyone come past Warrington Bank Quay Station to give me and the two friends a lift to the Mazuma?" But 5 minutes later, I got a direct message back saying, "Yeah, I'm coming from Liverpool. I'll pick you up." So unbelievable scenes. We got off the train, went outside the station. He came along about 15 minutes later with a 2-year-old asleep in the car seat. Give us a lift. He's called Alistair Stewart. He's a big Shrimps fan. Alistair, great work. Gave us a lift to the Mazuma. while we're in the car, I looked at his Twitter feed. He hadn't done a tweet since 2018. So I was like, I've been on Twitter since 2018. How do you know? He goes, oh, no, I didn't see it on Twitter. My friend in Spain saw the tweet, took a picture of the tweet, WhatsApped it to me to see if I could pick you up, and then I direct messaged you on Twitter to say I couldn't pick you up. So we got to the Mazuma, what, about 1:45?
Yeah.
And over an hour and a quarter after kick-off, this guy took his two-year-old who was asleep round to his grandparents to drop him off so he could carry on sleeping so he could come watch the game with us. And we watched the game. The power of Twitter, unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story. And I used to, in my days as a teacher at Heysham High, I taught Alistair, and he's a qualified referee, would you believe? Yeah, he's a good lad.
James Atkinson in Spain for taking a photo of the tweet and sending it to Alistair in Liverpool, who then came and picked us up, took us to the museum.
And I was just about to go for my third bottle of cider as you walked in, so I stopped.
Well, I was quite upset when I got there. There was no pies available, so I had to order. So that was another funny story. I ordered 10 pies to the box. They arrived, and then 10 minutes later, the chef came in, absolutely bricking it, going, "I've given you too many steak and ale pies. They're still on order."
Is that what he was doing? I wonder what he was doing coming in.
Salvage one that someone had put a finger in or something.
Yeah, and I saw. Has anybody touched this?
Dusted it off, put back on a plate, and saved one steak and ale pie.
Yeah, it was a good story, but we had a great day. Thank you very much for that. I really, really enjoyed it. How are we getting on? Somebody was asking questions this week as there's been no progress on putting that roof behind the Barticard.
It's all contractor related. It's getting sorted. There's a Shrimps Trust meeting next Tuesday. Joel, was there?
Oh yeah, there's one this week. Yeah,
with James and Ben, update. Ben Sadler, general manager, is in New York this week, living in the dream. So he's got no news for us. He just says we need 3 points on Saturday. Ryan Davies says there's no exciting news. Head of media. Martin Thomas, head of commercial, has no interesting news. It's a quiet news week.
Oh, so this has been a fantastic podcast for that, then, hasn't it? Really, you know. Yeah, so let's update the fans with what's going on. Nothing. I like it.
But
so I've got
342 tickets for Shrewsbury, apparently.
Have we? Oh, that's brilliant. Well, I've got one. Are you going Saturday?
I'm driving up yet.
Good. What about you, Joel?
I'll be down. Yeah, go on the train.
And who've Wimbledon got, Alex?
Bolton away.
Oh, come on. Come on, now's your chance. Now's your chance. Do everybody a favour. Because as you know, we love Bolton, don't we, everybody?
No comment.
Yeah, well said. David, who've the Gills got?
We've got Plymouth at home.
Oh, they're a funny side, Plymouth, aren't they? They're a funny side.
Yeah, some days they're on it, some days they're not, aren't they? I'm hoping they're not going to be on it. Hopefully, but you know, I guess we'll have to see. But they, you know, obviously the start of the season they were storming it, weren't they? And it's kind of settled back down. They seem to be around those playoff areas, but hopefully we can spoil their party a little bit and give ourselves 3 points.
When's the big one? When's Gillingham versus AFC Wimbledon?
Tuesday.
That is Tuesday evening. Yeah.
Do you know, doesn't score any goals versus a team that plays a 9-0-1 formation.
Yeah, are you telling me it's going to be 0-0, Charlie? Is that what you're expecting?
It's not allowed to bet direct for proper persons, but if I could bet, I would put £100 as being 0-0.
It'll absolutely be 0-0, or it'll be. I'll tell you this now. It'll be 0-0, or Wimbledon will win in the last minute, because it's always what they do when they come to us. Always. It's always like a last minute a goal, like for the last couple of seasons.
7 the last minute though this season at Plough Lane.
Have we've scored a few last minute ones, yeah, but not. Plough Lane's not been a happy hunting ground for us this season. Actually, we're better away. I don't know why, but that's the case. But the fans haven't turned though. We've been 12, 13 games without a win or something like that, and no, it's everyone's 100% behind the team because, as I said earlier, it's you know, we're just happy to be here playing football back in Wimbledon,
which is nice, and it is. And I do take Charlie's point that we are, you know, we're sort of very, very similar. And I know when we came to you in that exciting 0-0 the other week, you know, the ground is lovely, and it's funny because you can hardly see it from outside, can you? Really, you don't really know it's there. It's sort of
Yeah,
win, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant location, and we've got room to go up to 20,000. So there's
Well,
lots of
good luck for the rest of the season. I hope you do well. We've played you twice, so we don't care anymore because we've given you the points. But good luck for the rest of the season. Thanks for coming on. And have you still got Wellington Womble wandering round, by the way?
Wellington Womble.
Yeah, wasn't he? When you were at Kings Meadow? It was
Hayden. Hayden the Womble.
Is it? Well, it was always Wellington Womble from the Wombles, and we were doing the commentary a few years ago, and this was at Kings Meadow, and we were doing the commentary, and I said if I get 50 texts in, the guy one of our co-commentators, I said he will go and take Wellington. He'll run up behind Wellington Womble and take his head off during the game, and I got 50 people texted in saying off, and I got all these people, and then he couldn't do it, but. This was before I followed did cameras, and so it was just commentary. And so Stevie got up, took his microphone, like, right, I'll go and do it now. And we had to commentate as if he was going to take Wellington Womble's head off. And loads of people texting going, yay, he took his head off, and he didn't. So this is me telling you now, he didn't. So that was a bit of a joke, but there you go. But Alex, thanks for joining us. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much,
David. Keep up the great work on D3, D4. Like I said, we've played you twice now, so we don't care. If we could all survive, it'd be magic. But somebody's got to go. But if it can be Shrewsbury and Fleetwood, then we'll settle for that, surely.
Absolutely, I'll take that. If we're out there, they can take our place. Yeah, for sure.
Well, there we are. We're all in agreement. There's nothing more to be said. So thanks to Joel, thanks to David from D3, D4, Alex the Womble, and as usual, our facilitator Charlie. This has been ShrimpsNet. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week when obviously we'll have absolutely battered Shrewsbury and probably got a draw, and then just gone to Rotherham and won 3-0.
Shane McLaughlin, star guest next week.
Say again?
Shane McLaughlin, star guest next week.
Yes, Shane McLaughlin is the star guest next week, as well as James Wakefield, I believe, is it?
Yeah.
There you go. So it's well worth tuning in. Thanks to everybody for listening. Have a great weekend of football, and we'll see you next week.